All right, he brings us together again. Good afternoon. My name is David Kelnick. I am President and Chief Executive Officer of the LGBT Network. Today we're here at our Woodbury Center. I'm joined by Barbara, Madeleine, Joanne, and Parker, and Aiden, who will, some of the folks will be sharing their thoughts on the tweets and the actions by President Trump this morning. Joanne is a World War II veteran and an out transgender woman, and Barbara is also an out transgender woman and Air Force veteran and served in Vietnam. This morning, President Trump took to Twitter to announce a ban on transgender people serving in the U.S. military, a move that is being made despite current Department of Defense rules allowing honorable service by tens of thousands of transgender Americans. These cowardly, disgraceful, and un-American comments by President Trump attacking thousands of brave transgender service members who protect our country every day is yet another shameful distraction from a failed administration desperate to turn attention from its inability to govern and from the extensive criminal investigations which undermine any credibility they may seek to have. The president is creating a worse version of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. As we know from the sad history of that discredited policy, discrimination harms military readiness. When the ban against gay and lesbian members was lifted in 2016, only last year, the United States joined 18 other countries, including our close allies, Australia, Canada, England, and Israel, in allowing transgender people to serve openly. It was an incredible moment for equality in our nation's history. Today is a huge setback. Transgender people have been and will continue to be loyal and effective service members protecting our country. Studies show that they serve in the military at about twice the rate of the rest of the population. Transgender people serve in the military at about twice the rate of the rest of the population. So the question isn't about whether to have trans service members. The question is whether we treat them fairly and with dignity. The United States was founded on the idea of fairness and equal protection of the law. We should do no less for our transgender service members. The president should reverse this dehumanizing decision immediately. In this morning's tweets, Trump makes a baseless argument that transgender service members would burden our military's finances with tremendous medical costs. A ludicrous statement ignoring the fact that 15,000 transgender people already serve in the U.S. military without burden and without disruption. As former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mike Mullen, said yesterday, the RAND Corporation has estimated that the cost of medical care for transgender troops is approximately 1/100th of 1% of the military's annual health care budget, or at most $8.4 million per year. To claim otherwise is to lie about the data. This decision to force able-bodied, patriotic American service members to possibly leave the military will harm the strength and readiness of our armed forces and is already being blasted by congressional leaders on both sides of the aisle. There are many important issues now facing our country: jobs, infrastructure, immigration, access to health care, and civil rights. These are real issues. There are even serious questions at the highest level of government about whether our elections have been tainted by foreign influences. Banning transgender people in the military is not one of these and can only serve as a distraction to the real problems we face. We commend all of the brave transgender men and women who have sacrificed their lives in silence, and all those who are serving our country with distinction today. Like all members of the armed services who continually put their lives on the line, transgender service members deserve the dignity that comes with serving openly. The LGBT network will continue to speak out against this injustice and the president's continued ignorant, hateful attacks on our community. This Friday, July 28th, when President Trump visits Long Island, only a few miles from here, We will stand united as a community to show him that we will not be scapegoated further with his ignorant agenda. A major protest with thousands expected will take place beginning at 12:30 p.m. at the Suffolk County Police Academy, where he will be speaking, which is on the campus of Suffolk County Community College, located at 502 Wicks Road, Brentwood, New York. Again, we anticipate thousands of people to join us that day to protest this action, to protest his stance on immigration and health care, and let him know that he's not welcome here on Long Island. Go back to Mar-a-Lago. And with that, I'd like to bring up World War II veteran and openly transgender woman Joanne Borden.
As David Kilnick said, I'm a transgender woman and a World War II veteran. I never knew any other transgender women when I was in service because, like me, they probably all thought they were the only one like that. Today, it's a little different. I know a great many of transgender women who served in Korea and the swamps of Vietnam. Now, many TGs are not good enough to face death and perhaps die for their country, but not good enough to be who they are. When I heard of Trump's ban on transgender people serving openly in the service, I wondered, is this simply another fetish of Trump to undo everything that President Obama accomplished? Or does he want to emulate the Russian human rights here? The EU says Russians' human rights are in the dark ages. And one Russian human rights activist, I have a little difficulty pronouncing the Russian name, so I won't try, has called Russian treatment of LGBT people, not just transgender, but all LGBT people, as a step toward the Middle Ages. There are now 18 countries, not counting the United States, who are our best allies, like Canada, the United Kingdom, Israel, France, Germany, Australia, and New Zealand, who allow transgender people to serve openly. The other people in Belgium, Austria, Bolivia, Czechoslovakia, Denmark, Estonia, Finland, Netherlands, Norway, and Spain and Sweden. I say that if Trump loves campaigning so much that I was thinking that he should run against his pal Putin in the coming Russian elections. It was easy for me to serve secretly because in my day we didn't even know there were other people like us. So there was no opportunity to express our femininity. It's going to be much harder for these young people because they are able to, in our current society, be open earlier, and it's going to be more difficult. They probably will not think of volunteering to serve our country. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Joanne. Thank you, Joanne, for your comments and also for your service to our country. Next, I'd like to bring up Barbara. Barbara, also an out trans woman who served for 4 years in the Air Force and also a veteran of Vietnam.
When I woke up this morning and I saw the news, I was devastated. I thought we had come such a long, long way, especially in the military, which, as a veteran, I am so proud that I served my country. But this is a major, major setback for us. It seems like everywhere you turn around, there are people discriminating against the trans community for one reason or another, and none of it makes sense. We're just people like everybody else, trying to raise a family, trying to have a job, try to stay in their apartment, just like anybody else. But yet, our environment says it's okay to discriminate against us, again, for no reason that I can think of. And now our own government is against us. There are some 8,000 or 9,000 transgender service people now serving in our military, and everything is running pretty well. Now the president has decided to eliminate those people. We don't even know how that's going to happen. The details aren't even on the floor yet. But yet he has caused more trouble for the military that is just heartening for those who are in the military and those who want to serve in the military. It's amazing how things do come out after 8 to 10 years of progress in the trans community, only to fall down flat on our face because of one individual. When I thought about it, I didn't think President Trump had enough smarts to figure this out on his own. There are other people in his administration, namely Vice President Pence, that I think got into his ear, and in order to get some of the heat from the Russian situation, he just threw this out as a little small nuclear bomb. But I don't think it's going to work. We've been through this for many, many years, and we're not about to stop now. We will continue, we will fight, and we will make our voice known as we normally do. Thank you very much.
You know, a couple of months ago, we were here because of President Trump action against trans youth in our schools, about their safety, about their protection in our schools. And only a couple of months later, we're here because he's telling our brave patriots, our brave transgender folks who are serving in the military, that it's not okay for them to be out and for them to serve in the military. And so to speak on behalf of our youth, and we have a couple of different generations up here, is Madeleine Bruni.
Good afternoon, everyone. Personally, when I heard the news this morning, the first thing I thought of was a very good friend of mine who is only a few years younger than myself and was planning to enlist in the service. He is an openly trans man. And to think that he is going to be denied the right to serve his country as any other individual should be allowed to make that choice, that he is being denied that right, quite frankly, to me, is the most un-American and inhumane thing a president that proclaims himself to be the most American and the most patriotic person about is the most un-American thing a person like that can do. And I think that in time to come, he will realize the mistake that he has made today, and that the trans community, like Barbara said, is no different than any other person you walk by in the street. So why should it be any different whether or not they're able to serve next to any other person that enlists? To me, it is the most disgusting and repulsive thing a president could do. Thank you.
Thank you, Madeleine. You know, as Madeleine said, it was disgusting, it was disgraceful, it was un-American. It goes against all the values that we stand for in our country, which is equality and justice for all. We have real problems, real issues to address in our country, whether that's jobs, whether that's infrastructure, whether that's health care, or really taking a look at whether there was a foreign government meddling in our elections last year. To scapegoat our transgender brothers and sisters is a disgusting, is a disgraceful move, and one that should be overturned immediately. And with that, we'll open it up to questions for any of our speakers up here or myself.
How can allies or other members of the LGBT community help if they wish to voice their support for the cause?
Sure. So the question was, how can other LGBT or allied folks or just general members of the community who don't believe in, I mean, now I'm extending your question, but, who don't believe in the decision made today, how can they help? What I think we have learned is that we all need to come together as one community. It doesn't matter what our sexual orientation is. It doesn't matter what our gender identity is, what our race is, what our immigration status is that we're one community and we need to stand together when one group is attacked, and we have to stand behind one another. So with that, we're hoping that people do join us at this protest on Friday. That's one action on Friday, July 28th at 12:30 at Suffolk Community College in Brentwood by the Suffolk County Police Academy. I'm not sure how close we're going to be able to get, but we'll be in that vicinity. To join us at the protest to send a united message as Long Islanders, as Americans, that these are not the values that we stand for. The values of inclusivity, of respect, of dignity are what we believe in. And when we have differences, we can talk about it. We don't ban people. We don't discriminate people, a whole group of people, from serving our country. We're also going to be posting both through our website, which is lgbtnetwork.org, and also on our Facebook pages, petitions and ongoing action items that can be taken. We're in it for the long haul. Listen, he's going to be president maybe for 3 more years. Even if he is removed through impeachment or resigns himself, the person behind him is no better and more scary, Mike Pence. So we're in this for the long haul. And we have to come together as a united community, regardless of what our demographic is, to make sure that all Americans are protected and are free to be able to do whatever they want to do, however they want to serve our country, and do so with dignity and respect. So this is an ongoing fight.
What are the negative effects that you fear will be felt by the community out of this policy?
Sure. Which community? The LGBT or?
Transgender people.
So I'll also invite some of our speakers up to talk. But what I fear, and Madeleine had touched upon this, is that our young transgender kids are seeing the President of the United States, the leader of our country, stand up and say, "You cannot serve in our military. You cannot serve our country. You are not American enough to do that." So what I fear is there's already a high rate of suicide amongst transgender teens. It's going to be that much more important for the LGBT network and organizations like ours all across the United States to be more vigilant, to be out in more schools, to be out in more communities, to make sure that we let the kids know that they are more than okay, that they are human, they're just as American as anyone else, and that we get out there, we provide the advocacy, we provide the support, and we provide the change that's needed in their schools and communities, and that's needed in our federal government. I think as a country, we need to keep fighting this every single day. We need to look to 2018 and change Congress, that could hopefully block this. I'm sorry, but he's a psychopath, and he's delusional. And we have to do so because there are lives at stake. There are lives at stake. Our young transgender kids' lives are at stake. And we cannot rest for a second on letting anything that President Trump or anyone in his administration does that threatens their value, their worth, their dignity as human beings and Americans.
Not all conservatives are against the LGBT community. Just recently, last Friday, Chris Christie, governor of New Jersey, signed 2 bills recognizing transgender children's right to use a bathroom in accordance with their gender identity. And he did that on the basis of the statistics gathered by the gender equality. National something of, I'm sorry I can't give you the right people, but the statistic found was that 1.6% of the general population attempt suicide during their lifetime. 41% of transgender people attempt suicide. So it's very important for these youngsters to know that they're just as good as everyone else. In some ways, research has found they're better, but I won't go into that right now. Thank you.
And one of the things that we need to do here while we're fighting what's going on in the federal government is make changes in our own state in New York. As Joanne mentioned, Chris Christie signed a bill on earlier this week that moved to protect transgender students in our school. In New York State, we still do not have protection, that's discrimination protection, for transgender people. There's an act or a policy that has been in the New York State Assembly and Senate for many years. It's called GENDER, the Gender Employment Non-Discrimination Act. It has passed the democratically controlled Assembly. It has failed to even get up to get for a vote in the Republican-controlled Senate, which our Long Island senators control. And we need to make sure that while we're fighting Trump on every single level, and that we bring together more allies and we bring together more people in a united front against what's happening on a national level, we do the same here in New York State. So anyone here who's watching in New York State, talk to your assemblyman, talk to your senator. Make sure that we do what we need to do right here at home while we take care of the mess we need to clean up in Washington, D.C.
David, can you speak particularly to Trump's comment regarding being burdened with the tremendous medical costs and certain critics who would agree with him in saying that the taxpayer shouldn't have to bill?
Well, I mean, and I put my remarks on the floor here, but let me get them. Whoops. Oh. Because it was the former Joint Chief of Staff who said that yesterday, Mike Mullen, that, there's to just throw out a comment saying this is going to be a tremendous cost without any backup, without any real data, is doing a disservice. I mean, and it's not telling the truth as well. And I would call it, that's what I would call fake news. And fake tweet. And so, what the real deal is that that the medical care for transgender troops is what it would cost is approximately 1/100th of 1%, 1/100th of 1% of the military's annual health care budget, or at the most, what that would cost is $8.4 million. Now, we know the military budget is in billions and trillions. This is a drop in the bucket and something that should be afforded as equal health care coverage for our transgender service members. To claim otherwise about the cost of the burden of what this would do financially is just simply to lie about the data.
You also spoke about disruptions. I don't know what you meant by that, but I'm wondering if
disruptions. So he did mention disruptions, in one of his rants this morning, in one of his tweets. It's so hard to get into the mind of what someone who is incredibly delusional would mean by that. And the only thing that I think the disruption would mean is really a distraction. And I think he did that this morning to distract from the failed healthcare vote last night, from the continuing investigations into Russia's collusion and meddling into our national election last year. Listen, the bottom line is that there are 15,000 transgender people already serving in our U.S. military. serving in our armed services, whether it's here in America or overseas. And they're doing so without disruption. They're doing so with their, before today, with dignity and with respect. And so, say that again?
18 other countries.
And also that in 18 other countries, transgender folks are serving openly as well without disruption. So, you know, who knows what he meant, but I believe it was a tactic to distract from his failed administration, and really getting nothing done. And so, you know, by not being able to get health care done, by not being able to get his immigration ban passed, by not being able to push anything else, what's the easiest thing to do? The easiest thing to do is, well, you know what, let's tell this group of people that they can't serve in the military, and let's distract everyone from all the investigations and everything that's happening. It's just really a disgraceful move.
The speakers just say and spell your name first, please.
You want to say and spell your name?
Oh. My name is Joanne, Joanne, Borden, B as in boy, unfortunately, Orden.
My name is Barbara.
Can you do it with the microphone?
Get over there.
And my name is Barbara, Barbara. No, that's fine. Yeah,
Barbara.
Barbara.
And did you want to, Madeleine? Go ahead.
Madeleine Bruni, Madeline Bruni.
Yeah, and you know, I really commend all of our speakers for being up here today, to be brave. You know, they're the trailblazers who are out in all different communities, in their schools, that are really making a difference, and hopefully will bring all of Long Island, and for those that are watching, for all and folks all across America together, to end discrimination and to end hate once and for all. So if there aren't any other questions, thank you so much for coming today. We will be out at Suffolk Community College on Friday in Brentwood at the Suffolk County Police Academy to make our voices heard and to make sure that Trump knows he is not welcome on Long Island. And we will continue to fight every single day for the dignity, the respect, and the rights of our LGBT communities and our immigrant brothers and sisters and women and everyone else in America. Thank you so much.